Hi guys, Martin from Preact again. Today's video is going to be concentrating on the email side of Dynamics for marketing. The marketing solution is like any of the other Dynamics solutions in whereby it sits in here under its own app. Within the marketing app, we have two main areas. We have the marketing area, which is what we're going to be looking at today. And there is a whole events piece in here around setting up events and sending out event registration forms, having a portal where people can register for these events and everything else. There will be a separate part 2 video of this for the events area. Into the marketing section in here. For those not familiar with Dynamics already, you can see over here we've got a couple of our sort of key tables, the accounts table, which is sort of businesses, and the individuals that typically work at those organizations sit in the contacts table over here. Everything we do with the marketing solution is targeting a contact, even if that is a lead or whether that's looking for information coming from that contact's parent account, whether it's number of employees, turnover, that sort of thing. The segments are targeting the individual contacts. You pay for your licensing for per contacts that you've targeted with any form of marketing as well. So everything we do in the marketing solution revolves around the individual contact. And then within the solution in here, the four main areas of this are segments, which is our target audience. It's a way of us building a query to say these are the people we want to target. I'll show you that in more detail in a second. We then have marketing emails down here, which are nice drop and drag templated emails that we can set up. They come together in what we call a customer journey. Could be very similar to like nurture campaigns, things like that. So it's a list of people. What email do we typically want to send them? Based on what they then do in their interactions, what route do we want to take them down? What do we need to do? That's a customer journey. And then we can quickly just talk about scoring models as well. So based on what they're doing over here, we might give them a scoring model, and then you can see a list of potentially leads in your system that have registered for an event, clicked on a web form, a marketing page, filled out a survey, or actually opened an email or got a soft bounce or a hard bounce type scenario. So just first off in here, this is where typically the journey starts. It's on a segment. You can see when you go into here, there's a list of all of our active segments. If you was to look at any one of these segments, you can see the status is alive and draft, the ones that have been stopped. And then it would tell you over here if there's any live ones, how many people physically sit on that segment. So over here, you can see this one here called Preact Employees. I can see there's 63 members. If I click into this and I click on the members tab here, then I'll be able to see all of those 63 people that have ended up on this segment that it's found. It's a dynamic query at this point. And the last time this got evaluated, you can see here it's telling me the time of day that it got evaluated. But a segment essentially is in here, it's a query. So you can see what we can do. I'll just go back and just create a brand new one just to show you what this makes up. It's very similar to if you're already using Dynamics now and you're doing an advanced find, it's just a way of saying go away and find these people that meet this criteria. That's a dynamic segment. You can go in here and create a static segment. What that then means is if your sales team or your service team or whoever it is that's using the database, as and when they find a contact, they need to quickly add them to a list. They will have a static segment that they can pick from and add people to that. It might be a newsletter list type scenario, and anyone who's on that, then you might have a monthly newsletter email going out or something like that. If I click dynamic segment in here, you can then see it gives you the option of picking a predefined template. So typically this is someone that's received an email. Say if you're building it from scratch, somebody that's part of a journey, that's forwarded an email on, that type of scenario. There's a whole load of segments in here. Attended a session or attended an event. It might be you have a follow-up question or something off the back of that. For now, I'm just going to click a basic profile segment. You can see when you pick these, it tells you over here the descriptions. This is select contacts based on their contract attributes. Obviously, if I pick something in here, like this one, you can see it's looking at contacts, but it's looking at account-based information. So for now, just click this, click select. It will then load this up. You can see it's targeting the contact. And then in here, this is all the fields that we have that sits on a contact. So you could then say, for example, I don't know, address one city contains, and just put a value in here, London, something like that. If I just do estimate the size, it's going to look at all of my, I think there's about 5,000 contacts in this database, and it's telling me that there's 171 that were potentially contacts where their field called city contains the word London. It's one way of doing it. You can then do an and an or query, and you can group this. You can look at a related entity as well, so if a child entity of this, you can see it might be that they have checked into an event, or they might be part of a marketing list, which, you know, part of that marketing list might be looking at contacts where they're part of our opportunity pipeline or something like that. But essentially in here, it's all around the individual contact. You can have behavioural blocks in here as well. So this is all contacts that reside in London. If I click add behavioural block, then down here it's doing an or query, and then it's giving me all the options of going, okay, and whereby maybe we got a soft bounce. So if I did that, then we could say, okay, in here you can then add some details basically. So this will show me all contacts that are in London that we've sent an email to that we got a soft bounce from. It might be in here that you did open an email or clicked on a form and submitted some details on a marketing form. There's a whole load of things in here, website clicks and all that sort of stuff. So this is basically physically somebody that's received something we've already sent them. We're basing this list on their behaviour. There's a whole load of options we can do in here, but essentially a segment, you build these out, you build your queries in here, and you can have as many of these segments as you possibly need in the system. You might even find that the same individual that sits on this segment might also have their birthday coming up, and they might be on this segment, for example, as well. They might be on this one where they're part of a company where they've got more than 100 employees, for example. So individual contacts can be on multiple segments. We then have down here marketing emails. So if I just show you one here, this is what an email looks like when we click into it. You click new and you get the template option, very similar to what you just saw. You can then see it will show you in here like this. If I was to stop this, then this is the email that we had in the system. But over here, then you can adjust this. So we've got two options here. We've got the designer tab, which is what you're seeing here. If you want to then just drop and drag a text block in there, you can see it. It gives you that little line. Okay, I want to drop it in there, drag that in there. You can fill out your text. We've got this option here, assist edit. So instead of saying dear customer, we could say dear first name, and then it will pull the first name from the contact record that we're sending to. We can add custom code in here. We can embed videos, content blocks, images. All of this information will sit over here under the videos tab, the content blocks and the files area of the database. Any other elements, we can then say, okay, please go and fill out a survey. Please click on this and register for an event. Click on a marketing page. We have marketing pages over here. Could load up a basic form that they could then fill out. We can capture more details around them. We can get them to unsubscribe and opt out, and then they can feed into a subscription list if we need them to over here. There's a whole load of things that we can do in here. We've got the ability to do A and B split testing again on the subject message, send to X amount of people with this subject and that, and then obviously based on the best response, then go with that for the remainder. If you've already got HTML code in another system, you can just grab the code, paste it in here. You can paste the code in here, and then obviously when you look at the designer, it will show you how it's laid out. You can then just tweak that and mess around with that. And we've got this option here as well of doing a little preview. So this will show us what it looks like on different devices, whether it's a mobile device or a desktop, and it will give you a nice spam score over here as well. So you can see this is what it looks like on a desktop. If I click on mobile phone, then it'll show you how it renders on a mobile. And over here it's telling me that this is, you know, the lower the score the better basically. It's telling you over here the body of this, the subject, it's taking all that parameter into place, and it's giving you a nice spam score in here if you need it. So that's the marketing emails, and then that takes us on to the customer journey over here. The customer journey, you can again set these up and you can just do drop and drag, but if I just show you here one I did earlier, this one here for example, what we've then got on this one, you can see it's a segment. So this is our segment. So it's looking at this segment over here. If you click into this, click on properties, it will show you this is the segment that it's using. And it's a very much, you just click on the lookup option here and then you pick the segment that you've created over here previously. So I've just said, use that segment. When anyone lands on that segment, then do this. So the next stage in here was just to send a marketing email. So again, click on here and you can see this is the marketing email that I've decided to send. So we then send them an email. I've then added a trigger, a wait condition in here. So I'm saying we'll wait 10 days. And then if they open it, I think I've got this one open. Yeah, 10 days. And then if the email gets opened, then create an activity. So that might be a phone call, create a lead, or update the record, or start a workflow. We can do a whole load of things with this if we need to. If they don't, then update the record, and maybe then we say, okay, no response or something like that. Maybe then that starts off a trigger for another segment that starts another journey off. But these journeys in here, I'll show you some of these options in a second, drop and drag. I'll stop this and show you. But you can see there were 62 people on this journey. 62 people made it to the second stage. 62 people got to the wait condition. 29 of these opened it, and then obviously, you know, we created this activity over here. 33 of these didn't, so we then updated the record. So you can see when you look at one of these journeys, you can see all the details around it. If you click on this Insights tab here when you're on a journey, I'll just change this date frame over here, then you can see again how many were blocked, how many bounces you had, how many were delivered, the time frames, the opens, the clicks. You get a few of the analytics around this individual journey as well over here if you need to see that. But if I just click stop up the top here, I'll go and create a new one, and then I can show you the options. If I just click new here, again you can see you can pick from a template. If I just do blank, then it's very similar to the emails. You can say, okay, well, there's my segment, so I drop that and I drag that over there. You then click into it like you just saw, properties, you then pick your segment that you want to use. You might then say, okay, then go and do something. So I might then say, we'll send an email, drop that and drag that there. Off the back of that, what do you want to then do? You might then have a trigger in here, and based on your trigger, if it opens or clicks, and then you do something else. In here, you might then say, okay, go and create an activity, go and create a new lead, go and launch a workflow that then goes and updates or creates an opportunity or does something else around this. It might be that then it assigns it to the sales team. There's a whole load of things that we can do in here around this. Essentially, you can then see on any one of these journeys what's happening with the individuals, the opens, the clicks, and everything else that you might need to see. Off the back of this, we then have these scoring models down here. So a scoring model, you can see I've just got a few in the system. I've only got these two that are live. We have behavioural score, so again, based on what the individual user is going to be doing. Demographic is just based on information coming from the individual contact. And obviously firmographic, I think I've set this to be then account information. So just to show you, if I click in behavioural score, we set these up very similar again, drop and drag condition over here. So this one here, we're just saying, if an email gets opened, then give this a score rating of 5. This one down here, if they click on a website link that we've embedded in that email over here, then also give them a rating of 5. If they then click on another website, or they fill out a marketing form, or they register for an event, all of these things that you can have in here, you can then add your own points. And you can see over here, if I just say 5 point, I could then change that over here to 6 points, 7 points, how many points, and then you can do an increase or a decrease. So down here, I've got a point decrease. So I've said, I think this is a bounce back. Yeah, look, email bounce over here, it's an email soft bounce. So if I get an out of office a few times, I might then decrease this by 5 points over here. That's the behavioural score. Then looking at the demographic in here, very similar. Again, you drop and drag these conditions in over here. I'm then evaluating information from the individual contact. So if we say go and fill out this marketing form, and then they fill out down here, I think I've got this set to job title. So you can see job role. There you go. Job title field contains, and I've just got, if it contains the value, MD or CEO, because this might be a drop down option on a marketing form that we've given them to fill out or whatever. If they then fill this in, they equally then get a 10-point increase, because this might be a crucial person. If they then, I think I've got this field set to industry. So this industry type equals finance. It might be a specific value. Then give them 5 points. Now these values over here can look at any fields that you've captured individually on that contact record. It doesn't have to be just these fields that I've chose. You can basically look at any contact fields that you want and say, okay, if it equals that value, then give them this or give them that. That's that. And then of course the last one in here is just looking at firmographics basically, which is looking at account information. So a premium account, I think this is that's not the right field. Industry, there you go. Again, industry equals business services, then give it a 10 point. It might be that you've got a tick box on your account field that if they've spent X amount of money with you or over a certain value, they become a key account, and then you can set a flag field on the account to say key account. So if they are a key account, then maybe they go up by 5 or 10 as well. So we're looking at the individual contact, we're looking at all of the information they've clicked on, registered for, or anything else, and we're also looking at parent information as well coming from their account level. Once we've got all that information in play, we can then start scoring their behaviour and the information they're filling out when they're sent an email and they're a lead or whatever else. what we can then do, something like this, and here you can see open leads scoring over 20. So if I just show you this view, based on everything that we're doing from a marketing point of view, you can then see there's a whole load of people. We get this lead score in the system. There's all these people in the database, and this is what they've scored. So you can see 50, 125, 35. If I just click on one here, I've just done earlier, I'll just change this. You can see this is an individual lead that we've sent information to. As a contact, let me just find the lead. There you go. I'm now on the lead for this lady called Sue Thomas. Again, all the details. You can see the fact that she's filled in her job title being an MD, and that was one of our values. Then you can see over here, that's the demographic score that we've got for this individual. So we're scoring her 5 because she is an MD. That's the value there. We've then also got a behavioural score. So it's looking at all of these scoring models, and it's given us both these values in here. The behavioural score is given us a 10. Now, if I wanted to check all of the information around this, then I can click on here, the parent contact, and I can see the information. Essentially though, these two added together are giving us this nice score of 15. Now, if I just show you one I did earlier, there you go. Here's a contact that we sent to. They've been, scored highly. This is what you would typically just look at when we look at the normal contact details in the system. So this might be your sales team, your service team, or anybody looking at a contact form. They will just see all form level data, the timeline, everything else that's in here. Once we plug in the marketing solution, the end user can change the form here to the insights form. They then get read writes access over everything that we're doing from a marketing capacity. We just change this date field to get over here. You can then see they're getting a bit of an individual insight into what's happened. So we can see Kasim got sent an email on the 4th of December at this time. He opened the email. He then clicked on the email. He registered for an event that we'd probably put in there, an event registration form. He's then clicked into that, and he's then clicked on a website. He's then opened another email. There's a whole load of things, and we're seeing a whole timeline of what he's actually done in here. Down here, it's broken down into the interactions in here. So based on what he was doing up here, he would have been given a nice lead scoring. And then you can see website visits, event registrations, emails delivered, email sent, opens, all of this information. This is the overall view. If I just want to look at email interactions, I click on here, and it will then just show me those individual emails they've been sent. Again, you can see from a sales point of view, they'll be able to click into this and see that nice designed email that we've created. The sent, the delivered. There you go down here. Again, all the emails they've opened. Again, I can click into that and see those emails. It just gives you all the analytics really around this individual and what they're doing. Based on the score rating, it might be that we automatically then assign this to the sales team. The sales team pick this up. They can look at this insights tab and see everything that's happening with this. They can then give them a call, go and arrange a visit to go and see them. It might then go quite cold after a few months. The salesman hasn't then had interaction with this. Maybe then based on certain parameters, we feed that into a segment with no activity, and then it starts the marketing journey back off. So it's handing it back over to marketing if we need to. But essentially that's it. So all the lead score and everything else will go into this. And as you can see here, this is the one we're looking at, Kasim. It's got 125, which is why I picked that. Obviously then you can see why he scored 125. It's all these opens and these clicks and everything else that he's been doing. Website visits and everything else in there. And that's the four main areas really. It's the target audience, it's the nice template emails, it's the journeys themselves, the scoring models if you want to use this against leads, feeding into the contacts, and then of course all the other things that we can do down here. We can have personalized pages for when they land on a form. We can then, they've been on it before, and then we've got in private browsing and cookie tracking. Deleted, then we can say hi, and then we can have a personalized page for that individual on their second visit. Marketing websites, forms and pages, we can just fill these out again and just send them and say go and fill out some details in there, and we can capture more details, and we can capture all that information against that individual. Essentially that's it. This is the marketing solution, and it will plug in, and of course the accounts and contacts that we see over here in the leads, if you are using Dynamics already and you've got say the Sales Hub or the Customer Service Hub, if I just show you here in Sales Hub, I click into this, you can see it looks slightly different down here on the left hand side. This is what typically the sales team would be working with. But again, when I click into contacts in their app and I go and search for the same user, you can see over here, I'll just search in there, look, you can see it's still the same person. And when we click into this, they then get to see the Insights tab here if they change the form. So they get to see all of the information they're doing in here. Predominantly they'll be working with the other form, but they can then see all the marketing interaction in this nice area here. And that's what they would then typically be doing from their day to day. The contact information over here on the field level, timelines, personal emails, and anything else that they're doing, but they can flick over and see what's going on from marketing standpoints. Thanks for listening, guys, and hopefully if you can see the second video, that the second video will be on the events piece as well. Cheers.